Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. You know, a lot of my brothers are dead or gone, but they've been hanging on the block a little too long. What can I say? I hope they live to see a brighter day. And the ones that are doing fine, God bless you, 'cause you're doing fine. At the end of the day, don't forget about me. As days turn to weeks, and weeks turn to years, oh, I feel for my brother. And as time passes by, I see you're not satisfied. Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother.
HeazzyOnFire.
Okay, I'm Brother Enrico with the 302 documentary. You know, Sussex Green, aka Capitol Green, the Bricks, is a place where a lot of our growing up took place. Of course, right here on East Water Street is one of the places where I used to live, where we used to live, where we used to hang out. You know, we did a lot of stuff out here that allowed us to grow into the people that we find ourselves to be today. Of course, this is the famous basketball court that we was on. Everybody played on this basketball court, from break dancing to whatever. Growing up, you know, grab your cardboard, you get out here, you start break dancing. You know, we had the Philadelphia Breakers and all those that used to come down and enjoy themselves out here on the brick. So it was a lot of things that took place out here that allowed us to enjoy our life and not find ourselves getting into a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of mischief and all that. Not to say that we didn't or we didn't partake, but we had good times out here. You know, all communities, or whatever they may call the projects, is not always a bad place. It's what you make it. You know, we had situations out here. Individuals would have their situations, but we would never harm each other on the level where we couldn't look another person in the face after whatever situation we found ourselves in. I think back then we had a lot more community development and awareness than we do now. It's like we have grown, or there has become a very big gap between us as a people because of whatever reasons. The rap industry, the movies, the video, even the educational system has divided us as a people to where now we are so weakened when it comes to community and family value and structure that it's easier to pull a gun out or a knife out or something that will harm a brother or sister than it is to shake a hand or try to find something you can do together as a people so that we can look at each other and look at the family the next day and be happy that nothing happened. Nowadays, when you see that going on, you know, we see people with t-shirts on, or we see people with posters saying rest in peace and all that. So back in the day when we were growing up, we didn't have that stuff. We didn't have a lot of killing as we do today. So what we did, me, my brother, Tasha, we come together, and others came together so that we can bring a better community back to Capitol Green, Sussex Green, or the Bricks, whichever ones you want to use. Because this is a place where most people in Dover find themselves coming to at some point in their life, be it on the basketball court, being at the basement parties that we used to have, or anything that went on out here, the battle of the DJs, or things that took place that gave us value and community awareness back then, is what we trying to bring back to the community today. Because most people that grew up in a lot of communities, they give back, but you give back on what level? We give back every year because this is something that we want to do. It's something that helps the children understand that they have value. So when you give children something that shows them they have value, 9 times out of 10, you build character in those individuals, you build character in those children in that community to have a better sense of pride and dignity in their community, and they'll take better care of it, or they'll take more care of the people that's in the community, because now you giving them value, you giving them love, you showing them love. So when love comes in a place, it magnifies. So when love magnifies, it allows this community to look as good as it looks. You can't say all communities that you go into as clean as this community is. It really looks good out here. You know, you have some, debris or whatever out here, but for whatever reason, we know trash flies from wherever it flies. But again, my brother, we always ran together. We always did things together. And Capitol Green was one of those places. When we came back to Dover, this was one of the first places that we came to, because our Aunt Murdy lived over on the other side of the bricks, or Sussex Green, however you want to call it. And it reintroduced us back to the Dover community, because we have moved south to the Caesar Rodney area out Mifflin Meadows, and then we found our way back here years later. So again, I lived over here. We also lived over on the other side. Capitol Green is a historic place in Delaware, because a lot of people, when you come through, are you going north or you going south, you got to come through I-95, or you got to come through Route 13 or 13. You can't go north or south without coming through Delaware. So somebody, whether you know it or don't know it, you done passed this place right here, and it's very valuable and instrumental to the Dover community. A lot of times, I always try to give back. And I love giving back here, because again, this was one of the places that helped me grow as an individual. It helped me to become the person that I am today. They have a community center over here on Sussex Avenue. And then they have another one right here on Newcastle Avenue. We have to take advantage of these community centers that we see out here, because again, you got to make the community a decent place for the people to live. Again, you see the young brothers here that just walked up here. This is what we want to do for them. We came out here, we fought to make this a little more decent for them to be able to play and enjoy themselves on. There's still some work that we need to do, or that we want done in this community, because again, those young brothers should be able to come out here and not have to worry about hurting themselves on this basketball court, because again, most of us come out here to get away from the things that we see in life, because life pulls on us. But when we have an outlet like this to be able to shoot our stress away or dribble our pain away, just something to allow us to overcome whatever life situations we find ourselves in. And then you see that they take pride in just seeing it don't have rims here, but it's an outlet for them. They come here and they want to see what's going on, because again, most communities you'll find that basketball courts or the football field are outlets for the young brothers. And we have to give them not somewhere to do their sport and play, but somewhere to give them a place to be able to say, I got a chance to make it. I can make it. Not, you don't have to make it to the NBA, but make it out of situations that they find themselves in on a daily basis. Because sometimes if you sitting around and you don't have nothing to do, then 9 times out of 10, you'll find yourself wanting to partake in mischief, partake in things that will cause you to find yourself behind prison walls. Of course, I did 5 years in prison, and no, I'm not proud of it. But I have suppressed that part of my life so much, because that doesn't make me who I am today. It helped me get to where I am today, because again, when we use these places to grow and develop and become greater people than we was before we found ourselves inside of those prison walls, or we found ourselves in trouble, we have to use that to give back to the communities that we took from, or that we helped to cause problems in. Because again, at the end of the day, Nobody is going to take care of your community better than you take care of your community, because you knew or you know the vices that's in the community that destroys our community. So we as a people that took part in destroying our community, we got to uplift that community, make it a decent and better place to live. So again, you know, you got the young brothers out here, man, and this is our future. So when we see them, we see ourselves going back up through them. So we got to give them words of wisdom that they may be able to think about the decisions they're going to make tomorrow. Because again, a lot of times we didn't have that. We didn't have older people telling us, yo, young buck, this ain't the way to go. This ain't the things you should be doing. So us knowing what we didn't get when we were coming up, we are trying to reinstitute those values into these children that we see today, because we don't want them to make the same mistakes that we made yesterday. Because if you keep repeating the same thing, we're going to keep finding ourselves in the prisons, in the group homes. We don't want that. We want them to see those community centers that they have in their community and use them as outlets to grow whatever gifts and talents they got, so that they can become greater people than what we think or what people think they can become. I know they great. They little gods trying to grow into big gods. See, that's the thing about that. Once you understand and you teach a young person the value of themselves, then they grow into with the wisdom that you give them. But if you ain't giving them nothing, how can they know what to have? How can they know who they are if they ain't never taught who they are? And that's the problem we find in the educational system. The educational system is not designed to build character, to build businessmen, to build our future. We have to build that, and we use the community centers and we use the community activities to grow and pour into the youth, so that the youth can see that they are somebody. Because if we don't do it, ain't nobody else gonna do it. That's not the educational system job to mold them into who and what they should be. It's just to give them the basic necessities to grow in life, so that they can become a little educated, a little wiser than what they do when they come out the womb. So when we see young brothers like that and young brothers like that, what we got to do is we got to pour into them, not drugs, not guns, none of that. We got to give them the wisdom and instill into them values, because again, nobody did that for us. Not on that level where we see today, where you have, you know, the internet, and you have the TV, you have the radio, where they can get more wisdom or more things poured into them, and besides the negativity that we see. Because a lot of times when you look at the videos or you look at the rap music, all they doing is they polluting the airways with filth. So we have to battle against that when we see or we hear the language that come out their mouth, because they regurgitate what they hear and what they see. So we have to battle against that, because those are vices that when they see brothers such as ourselves, they looking at us like, who you are, who you think you are. I'm the same little guy you are today, I was yesterday. So when I see you, I see myself. So I want you to become not me, but greater than me. So I got to give you the wisdom to help you become a greater person than you find yourself to be. And my thing, when I was growing up, I always looked up to my brother Nico, because he was my example that I wanted to be. He was a good basketball player. He was very educated. He could read a book and regurgitate that book from just reading it once or twice. And that's the type of person or the type of example that you want as a person. And again, that was my brother Nico. He was the one for me that I looked up to. And again, Nick, can you come here with me for a minute?
You know, I'm Nico. I'm Rico's big brother. Out here was a village as well. I know in my documentary, we spoke on Mifflin Meadows, we spoke on Kirkwood, but we also have a rich history here as well. On Sussex Avenue, River Road. My uncle lived out here and my aunt. And in our community, we have a lot of fatherless homes, a lot of fathers in there. for one reason or the other. But when the father isn't there, that's when the uncle's supposed to step in. And that's what we got to get more of. So my uncle was like a father to me, and he taught me a lot of things. Funny thing is I remember he had a Datsun 210, probably 1980, 81. He was teaching me to drive right here. So that's a rich history that I have out here. But going back to, this was a village as well. Like the brother said, we did a lot of things, especially here on this basketball court. That's why we're trying to get this basketball court done, for one, because it's dangerous. And it's been like this since we was kids in the 80s out here, late 70s. So we want to get this done. We want to get it extended out. But going back to being out here, like you said, you had the Delaware breakers. You had people that come from other places, even states and other places, Manchester Square, West Side, come here, and they would have breakdancing, popping. We even had brothers, sisters come from the base, and you know, they would perform out here, had battles. But this was a community, one of the communities where, in order to come out here, 9 times out of 10, you had to know somebody, because we protected the community, and that's what we got to get back to. But when something happened in the community, we also got to be able to, all right, say, this happened for the good. We got to get out of this mindset that we got to keep protecting bad, especially at our age. You got to start, all right, pointing people in the right direction. I'm not saying that, you know, just stop the snitching, this and that, but we got to keep it real. In order for our community to get better, we got to help individuals in the community. But seem like people want to put a connotation on you when it's not their family. But when it's their family, then they want you to talk. So we got to have a happy medium or a balance here. But yeah, out here, we had a lot of fun times, and that's why we want to come back and do something out here for the kids, because we see kids got so much social media, phones, iPads, they got a lot of distractions. And we want to have a community day where they can come out and get away from all that, just detox from the social media. The social media is good. It's got its good and bad, but we need to get them away from that to try to get them back into the books. That's why we try to have books out here as well to get to the kids. As we can see, the literacy rate, our team, home team, chosen ones are fighting that now. We was out here probably about a month ago going from door to door, talking to the parents and letting them know that we have kids that's in high school today that's reading on the 3rd or 4th grade level. That's a problem. So we think the parents have to get back within the kids' lives and take away these devices and start reading to them. It's not too early to start. You start in the womb, actually. But when they get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, parents got to take that hour or two a day to sit down and read with these kids, because it'll help them later on in life. And most important thing, they gain a knowledge, and then it helps them with that comprehension when they reading things. So I just want to pass it back over to my brother Rico.
Okay, again, why I take so much pride in the community. I remember when we went to Washington, D.C., 10/10/15, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan asked us to come back to our communities to make it a safe and decent place for our children, families, grandparents. Because, you know, in our history or in time, there was a time when it wasn't safe for children to walk, play, for grandmothers to sit outside, watch the children, mothers to walk down the street, even fathers to walk down the street and enjoy themselves. So the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan told us to come back and try to build the 10,000 Fearless, so that when we come back into the community, again, it's a decent and safe place to live. So that's why, you know, we have a study group out here, 430 Newcastle Avenue, and then we use also the community center on Sussex Avenue, so that we can institute different things and value in the community to uplift it. Again, we did things out here that took away from the community. Now we got to come back into the community so that we can give the community the value and the structure it didn't have when we were growing up. Yeah, it was family. We were doing a lot of things out here, but now we are a lot more mature and educated on a lot of things that we took for granted when we were children or even growing into that teenage, early adulthood. So that's why, again, Capitol Green or Sussex Green or the Bricks is one of those places that we find ourselves giving back to, because again, we were one of those vices that was in the community taken away from the community. So when you know better, you do better. As the African proverbs say, it says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things and conducted myself as such. So we have no excuse that when we see and we know better, we do better. So that's why, again, every year we come back to this community, and not just here, but we go to every community that is doing something that's feeding the community, the food trucks, or just Tracy Palmer Ministries, or Delaware 302, Home Team, Chosen Ones. These are all organizations that I'm a part of, or that we are part of, that gives back to the community. Because again, at the end of the day, we have to be able to give back to the community so that you uplift the community and not take away from the community as we did at one point in our life. Again, when we know better, we do better. So again, when we are able to reconstruct or bring a better view, if you would have seen this court 2 weeks ago, you would see that it's a lot better today than it was yesterday. Because again, when we have our community day on May the 25th, we want the children to be able to look at this basketball court with pride and be able to smile and say, oh man, this wasn't like this 2 weeks ago. We always had to play on that dirty court. Well, now they got a little better sight, and it'll add pride to those individuals that get on that court, because you know how it is when you put on that new pair of sneakers, you feel better. Or you put on that new sweater or them new pants, you feel better. And that's the same thing with the basketball court. When those children see that basketball court and they go on that basketball court, it gives them a better spirit as a person, because they see the value in just the look and what it looked like. And that's just like when we walk into the community and we see that that there's no dirt on the no paper and trash and bottles on the ground. It adds value. It adds value to the children's view of where they living at. But if all they see is trash on the ground and all they hear is cussing and loud music and disrespect, that's what they grow into. But when they see and they feel a better environment, it raises the consciousness, it raises the value even in the child, because now they see that the place where they live is a decent place. But if all you do is you continually to put them in a project somewhere where they have us seeing or trying to say that low-income families are worse than someone that is growing up in probably a two-parent home. Not to say that there's not a two-parent home in the projects or in the community, which is a word that we really should be destroying. As they said, the same way they put nigger in a casket, they need to put projects in a casket and bury it, because what it does is it devalues the people that is inside of these communities. Because projects, when you're in school, what is it? It's an experiment. It's something that is you're graded on to see what the outcome over time would be. So what we have to do is we have to look at this as a community, as a housing, because now you take away that devaluing mechanism that they give us. I don't live in a project. I live in a house. I live in a home. And when a child feels that they are living somewhere that's valuable and great to them, you no longer take away the pride that they can have in themselves as an individual. So that's why, again, we try to give books back to the community. We try to do different things in the community. We bring speakers from different cities, different places, different towns, so that they can see somebody other than the person next door to them or auntie and uncle sitting around. You have to be able to give a person something outside of the streets that they live on or the community they live on, because once you can give them a traveling, it pulls them out of just being stuck inside of 4 walls. When you can see outside of those 4 walls, and you like when we was growing up, we traveled. We went different places. We did different things. But if you keep a child in just an environment, that's all they know. If they don't know anything outside of that environment, they get stuck. They become still. There's no growth. There's no development. So that's what we are trying to bring back to them, so that when they grow up, or even when they're in school, it allows them to know that there's something greater than what they see every day.
Yeah,
so,
we have done a lot more and have grown since the first shots of our documentary. So, you know, again, as you grow and as time goes on, you add the value, you add things to your life. And 302 documentary is a blessing because it opened doors and it allowed us to be able to come back into the community or tell our story to people that look at us. And, you know, you have some people that can't believe that me or my brother was incarcerated or that we did the things that we did in the community. Not saying that was all bad, no, because it wasn't. But again, you know, we're part of Home Team Chosen Ones, which is made up of all 3 counties, Kent County, Newcastle County, and Sussex County. It's brothers that's coming back into the community and trying to reach back into the prison system to the men, women, and children that find themselves incarcerated that don't have a voice. Because a lot of times we leave outside the prison and we say, oh man, I got you when I get out. And most of the time, once we get out, we get consumed with the things that we have going on in our life that we don't have a real opportunity to just run back and be able to reach back in there to them brothers. But now we have a group of brothers, man, that all come together that is determined that we are going to help the brothers and sisters that are incarcerated. Because again, you got some brothers that's been incarcerated for over 50 years fighting, trying to get out. You're going to tell me a man that done did 50 years, half or more than half of his life, that he don't deserve a second chance? How much of a harm or how, or what is it now that you think that this man will do after 50 years of spending his time in an institution or a correctional facility that he hasn't learned anything? Is that the mindset, that a man don't deserve a second chance after doing 20, 30, 40, 50 years? If they haven't learned anything in that time, that says that you aren't giving them an opportunity to grow and develop inside of those walls that you cage them in. You just housing them. It's a storehouse. It's a money racket. So that's why we are trying to go back into all the facilities and even in the streets to help people find themselves in a better position, in a better place that they found themselves in yesterday. So again, we use these community centers and we use the food bank and different things so that we can feed the community and educate the community on the things that's going on inside the community. Again, it looks beautiful out here. But again, if a person don't see the value in where they live, then how good is it? What is it that these individuals aren't coming outside of their house? Because, you know, when we were young, we always stayed outside. We always done things as family outside of the house. But now they've been so consumed with the video games and the TV that we don't even see the value in coming outside of our homes to get fresh air or anything nowadays. So that's why we try to do things in the community so that people can come outside of their house and be able to breathe a little bit. Because when you're sitting inside them walls, all you're doing is thinking about misery. You're thinking about different things that keep you defined in a box. Get outside your house and breathe a little bit. You got a whole community center here. What are you doing with it? That's what it's supposed to be doing. It's a community center, which means this community should be using that center for, it shouldn't just be sitting idle. It should always be something going on. They have a nice sister here, Keisha Davis. You know, she does the sip and paint. She does the bingo. She does different things that she is trying to do so that she can keep the spirit uplifted in this community. We have to go back into these communities and help them develop programs and different things so that the children can use these community centers. Because when we were growing up, we had 4-H, we had cooking classes, we had sewing, we had different things in the community that gave us value, so that when we got older as a man, I can cook for myself, I can sew my own pants, sew my own clothes, you know, I know how to wash my own dishes. I don't have to depend on somebody to do that stuff for me, because those are the fundamentals that we were given in the community when we were growing up. Self-defense classes, we had all of that stuff that came out of these community centers that you find in the community. So we got to hold these communities responsible for using, or give them the vision, or give them the information that's needed, so that when they see these community centers, they can use these community centers for what they are for. And that's not just washing your clothes. That's not just coming to pay your rent. But when you look inside, we can walk down a little bit and I'll be able to explain a little bit more to you. Right here, where these two windows are here, it's a nice little rec area with a dining, a cooking area. And then on the far end, there is another area. That's a nice size conference area, or whatever you may want to use it for, entertainment area in there, where we had brought a gentleman, John Muhammad. He runs Gang, Going After the Next Generation. And it's called, the program was called Boys to Men. And what we did was we brought him here and we asked the community to bring their boys here from 10 to 18 and drop them off, so that we can talk to them, sit them down, and understand that they are somebody. To get them to help with conflicts that they may have within themselves or with somebody else, because 9 times out of 10, you got a lot of people in these communities, they related and they don't even know who each other are. Why? Because we sit in the house, they playing the video games, they watching the TV, they listening to the music, and it's a distraction. So you got Pookie and Ray Ray out here shooting each other because they don't know their cousins until they go to a funeral. And then the families are divided because they not seeing the value of these community centers. These community centers are for a reason. That's why it's called a community center, so that the people in the community can use it and do something. The sister, like I said, Keisha, she does the painting, sipping paint for the elderly sisters and even younger. It's not no age limit, but she also feeds them. It's so much that can be done with these buildings that are just sitting vacant. If you have, just say you had a movie night for the children, or even for the adults to get outside their house and do something with the family, because most of the time, a lot of times families don't do much together. They sit in the house, the children downstairs and the parents upstairs, or, you know, they in 4 different rooms because they don't have that unity or that bond that builds them as a family. So you don't see them out here like we were. Like I said, when we was growing up, our parents may not have played basketball or softball. Well, sometimes our parents did play softball or baseball with us when we were growing up out in Memphis Meadows. But again, you have these community centers and stuff like that. We got to use these community centers because that's the purpose of them, for them to be in the community, and it helps to grow the children mentally, skill-wise, and all that. Why have the community centers if they just sitting there idle? That's deaf. Again, Sussex Green Community Office is a good place, again, to help develop the youth that are in this community. We have to take advantage of these community centers instead of just letting them take your money every month and they ain't giving, and you're not giving back to the community that's sitting in the community. But this one here, I can say, is being used wisely by the manager that's here. And again, she allows people to bring stuff to this community that's for this community. Not to say that it's out for people outside, because it's not. though it is. But she wants stuff that's going to help raise the level of respectability for Sussex Green Apartments. And again, we try to work with her and those in the community that want to do something to help, again, raise the respectability of Sussex Green, the bricks, most people will call it. Some still call it Capitol Green, because a lot of us don't understand that the name has been changed. And some things you just don't want change. It's the bricks. It's Capitol Green. Again, we use this building respectfully. Again, it's not for no foolishness. We're not holding no shake a booty and all that. No, we're not doing that. But we are using it to educate and raise the respectability levels of the children and even the community itself. Because why have a community building here, or why have a building period if you're not going to use it? But they are using it. I can say that this is one community, and the management here is using this building for what it's used for. Again, she had a sip and paint a couple Fridays ago, and couple nights out the week she has the bingo, and she's allowing individuals that can help her work with the youth and the people in the community, so that the community is not just sitting idle. See, most of the time, like I said, you'll have community centers. Like when we were growing up, we had the 4-H, we had self-defense classes, we had different stuff that was going on in the community centers that gave the children something to do other than just sitting in the house doing nothing. And that's what this community center here, I could say, is being used for. Or we trying to help her bring back what we were getting when we were children. See, if you know what helped you as a child, then you bring that back to your community and you try to help instill that in those children and in that community, so it'll be a safe and decent place for those children and those people that's in that community. Because again, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. We can't look for somebody else to come outside of our community to do what we have a responsibility to do as a people. We can't allow or think that the government is going to institute programs in this building when they don't live in this community. Or most of the time, they don't see the value in the community unless it's a vote. We got to break that. We got to get the children to see, and the people that's in these communities to see the value within themselves, the value in their community, and the value in the institutions or the things that's in their community. Because they can have different stuff, like even tutoring classes or different things that can help their children, because they have the building, they have the space, they have the time, but they have to be willing to do it for themselves. We can give it to them, but again, they have to want it for themselves. And that's what we're here for. We're here to just throw the wheels and the pearls to them, and they have to grab them in order to make it, again, a safe and decent place for them to live. Thank you.
So we back here at Sussex Green, or like I like to say, Capitol Green, the youngins say the bricks. It's 409. I spent a lot of weekends and summers here. I remember riding my bike all the way from Medford Meadows to here on weekends. I might have been 10, 11 years old, riding my bike just to get here on the weekends in the summers when it wasn't basketball or track season. And my Aunt Tanya lived here with my cousin Irena and my cousin Charles. We had a great relationship. They was like little brothers and sisters to me, even though they was my cousins. And I appreciate her. Like I said earlier, even though my mother was in my life and my mother raised me, it's always good to have a second mother or auntie as a mother, and that's what she was. She was an auntie and a mother to me with my uncle that lived here. So yeah, I had a lot of great times in this apartment, 409 Sussex. And my man Tim Malloy, funny thing, I just saw him last week. Tim Malloy, the Malloys and Dougie Malloy and them live right there in 411. And also, we live right there. What's that? River Road? 439, 419, something River Road. So we live right there as well. So when she left there, she went there. And then when she left there, she moved into houses. So I guess she was like George and Wheezy. She moved on up. to a single family home. And then she ended up out Capitol Park, another single family home. So that's good. I give a lot of respect and honor to my aunt for accepting me when she didn't have to. We definitely appreciate that. Give you a timeline. We're on Governors Avenue in town. We're at 48 South Governors, which I grew up 3 and 4 my high school years here. So I started out in Mifflin Meadows. Excuse me, actually, I'm jumping. It was on Slaughter Street on West Side. Moved to Wedgwood. And we moved to Mifflin Meadows. Mifflin Meadows moved to Star Hill for a year, and then we moved here by my sophomore or junior year in high school. And these was very important years as well. But like I said earlier, men are very important in the community. And when the father isn't there, your uncle is there, mom is there, your aunt is there. So summers, I would be in Palmer Park with my uncle Curtis. Ira Curtis is something like to call him. He was father figure to me. And I seen how a household supposed to be by having a 2-parent in the household.
I was going to say, if you wanted to take a look at the house, I mean, I'm in the middle of construction everywhere, but...
Oh, yes, I would definitely like to. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, right. Appreciate it. Owner giving us a little leeway to go in. Appreciate that. So I had an uncle that showed me a structure at a young age. Uncle Curtis and my Aunt Mary. And my little cousin, Michelle, which is 2 years younger than me. As she knows, she my fave. Always be my fave. And I seen how a family's supposed to interact. And I seen how a father is doing his duty and responsibility, and how the mother is doing her duty and responsibility. Even though sometimes they shifted, because I seen my uncle, he would cook a lot and my aunt wouldn't. And that was kind of strange. But now that I look back, I was like, okay, you definitely can exchange roles within a relationship. So yeah, that was a very important part. Late 70s. My uncle, very instrumental in my life, and I would be able to forever be grateful. And me and my cousin Michelle, we tight to this day. That's my heart. And I seen how my aunt was hard on her, put pressure on her. And sometimes you have to do that to kids so they don't go off course. And Michelle turned out to be great. And I'm sure my aunt, she's deceased now, rest in peace. She's seen her growth and her development and what she had accomplished before she passed away. And Michelle is still doing her thing today, and I appreciate that. So by my junior year, we moved here. Sophomore, junior year, we moved here. And this block here was just plain. I think we might have been the only blacks on this block. Right here, it was a black and white family. But other than that, it looks totally different now. It look like they gentrifying the block, which they are, which can be good. Making it look better. But we gotta be careful with that gentrification, because sometimes that means that they building it up and want to push us out. So we gotta be careful supporting certain gentrification, but it's definitely gonna look better. So by the time I graduated from high school, I'm next to the youngest. I'm the only one left in the house. So my mother was like, I don't need all this house, all this room. So that's when we left here, and she moved to Reed Street, where I did my documentary earlier, and then I moved out Capitol Park. You know, I didn't want to live that close to situations that was going on over there. But they given us an opportunity to go in the house. So, when I grew up, there was a wall here.
Okay.
It stops here.
And this
that
was
the
nothing.
bathroom. This was just the hallway, and it was a stand-up shower in there.
I just, here, take a peek inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, you redid it.
Well, working on it. Everything's being 12 projects, nothing done.
Nice. You doing it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's always why it's taking so long.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole thing, everything had collapsed, basically collapsed. I had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and right here used to be a fireplace.
Oh, really?
Used to be a fireplace right here.
Right there.
And this wasn't open. Everything went through here.
Really?
Everything you went through here.
So you telling me if I knock that out, there's probably a fireplace back there?
Yes, it was a fireplace right there.
Okay, there might be another one in there soon. Nice.
And then this wasn't here. We went through here.
Wow, okay.
And yeah, he redid. Now we came through here.
Uh-huh.
And it was a fireplace here.
Oh, really?
It was a fireplace right here.
All right.
Fireplace here. Yeah, they redid the kitchen. The counters was here.
Uh-huh.
And then the stove and everything was here. That back door wasn't there. We went through there.
You went through here to
That
exit
back
outside.
porch.
Nope, it is just a tool window. Go take a peek inside.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely got tools. Yes, definitely got tools. So
Yeah, it's a mess in here too.
it was a door that goes out that way.
Okay. So this is actually going to wind up being a room, a gym, or eventually. Yeah, and then I'm gonna maybe get in that basement. I'm not sure. You know where it goes down to the dirt floor. You never been down in there?
I can't remember.
Well, you want to come on? You can take. I mean, you may not be able to get all the way down here.
I got no memory of that. Oh, it's down there.
So down there.
I do not remember that.
Okay.
I don't even know if we
This
had
may have been-
access.
This may have been a back porch, or you had windows here at some point, I guess. Or the windows weren't here at the time you were here.
I can't remember.
Okay. All right. Because you didn't have a back. Because this was, I guess this was a porch coming off.
Yes, it was a porch.
So you had at the time you were here, it was a porch.
It was a porch. Yes.
Okay.
So I don't remember that, or we didn't have access to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was what? In high school, I was 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
So I do remember this, and it was a door there, and we would go out the backyard there.
All right.
And we could walk around the house.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You did a great job in here. It's
Well-
definitely modernized.
Well, yeah. When I got here, I bought this like five. Most of this is already done. The only thing I really did so far is that bathroom there, and yeah, that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. Now I'm going over there.
Yeah,
Hey, honey.
Yeah, they do shit through everything.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes, this is definitely the house I grew up in. They have definitely did some remodeling, modernized the house, which definitely for the better. So we're gonna go upstairs.
You think you got it back here first?
Okay.
Now, it's funny is that a lot of people live in this place. I can't tell you how many
Oh,
people
yeah?
stop by and say, I lived here for a while. So I'm redoing this now. Which maybe by the end of the day this will be done.
So this
This is the back bedroom.
hold up, let me see something.
It's a Jack and Jill, yeah.
Oh, it goes. Oh, okay. So this was my bedroom.
Where you're at now?
Yeah, right here was my bedroom.
Okay.
And growing up, I always had a bed to myself. My bunk bed was here. We would come through here. I remember I got a picture. The closet was here. I would have all my shoe boxes right there.
Oh, wow.
It was a man who had all my shoe boxes. Yep.
So, you're saying there was a closet back here? And
The closet was right here.
okay.
Yeah, the clothes closet was here. It wasn't there. Then it had a mantle on the wall where I can put all my shoe boxes, my tennis shoes, and then my bed was right here. Yep.
Okay.
And that was the bathroom.
Okay.
So I see they still,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if it was
Open the both
right
rooms?
there. No, it definitely wasn't open room.
Oh.
I think it was this way or something.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's totally different. And then that was my brother's room and my nephew's room. So now you turn into a 3.
It's a 3-bath, 3-bed.
Let me see, 1, 2. It should be a 5.
A 5-bedroom?
Yeah.
How in the world was this a 5-bedroom?
Like 1 here.
Uh-huh.
This one.
Uh-huh.
And right here, well, it was a bedroom there,
Uh-huh.
and it was a room there, and it was an attic. You got an attic, right?
Yeah.
That was a room.
Okay.
So that room,
This room, you
Yeah.
had 2 rooms instead of
yes, got you. It
Ah.
split. You had a hallway. That would go right up to, little.
one. Hey, babe. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Good enough. All
So
right.
I could see that side was a room, that side was a room.
Okay.
And then you had the attic,
Okay.
which was a room, finished room.
Okay. So now it's just one big bedroom and a bathroom in
smart.
there, and then you have the attic. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's nice.
All
Love
right.
it.
Yeah,
Definitely
eventually it'll
appreciate
be a lot nicer.
Then I know your property going up because they build it.
I want to talk about what brought me into the life of crime and what brings me to the life now. I'm going to do it in a short passage. Of course, like my brother explained, and I explained in earlier videos, that our mother did everything she could for us as young men. But sometimes you reach a certain age, you no longer want your mother to continually to keep taking care of you. My mother had 6 children. And as we were growing up, I used to always say, you know, tired of my mother struggling or my mother working so hard to take care of us. So me, I used to sneak out. I used to see the guys. I used to see how they was making that money, and I kept my eye on that. So as I got old enough to, you know, find my way in the streets, I hooked up with certain individuals, and it allowed me to no longer have to look upon my mother to take care of me, but I would take care of myself. So in taking care of myself, I influenced those around me, and I turned them on to that same lifestyle that allowed me to be self-sufficient. And that was out here in the streets, you know, Kirkwood Street, Reed Street, Governors. We used to use these streets as means of employment, because at that time, you know, yeah, some of us worked, but then you had some of us that we just didn't. You know, I tried capital cleaners, it wasn't for me. So when I was able to find a resource to make that money, these streets was my life. These streets is where I got my money. But again, like I said before, at a time I reached a certain level and I said I didn't want to do this no more. So when I found myself not wanting to do it anymore, I was already on my journey and my road to prison. So in me going to prison, I was able to further acknowledge myself into what I say I believed and what I wanted out of life. And in doing so, I was able to come home and put myself in a position to be able to find myself on a new road and not finding myself hanging with those same individuals that could have led me back into that life. Because I was introduced, you know, individuals wanted me to come around them. They wanted me to hang out with them, but I didn't want that because I had a partner with me that wasn't going to allow that. So what I did was, me finding myself wanting to stay on the right path, I involved myself with certain groups, certain organizations that will allow me to continually be the man that I am. So that's why when we have different events or different things going on, I'm always wanting to be a part of it, not to be seen, but because I remember the days when I was out here being self-destructive, when I was out here being destructive and poisoning the streets. So now I knew that I wanted to come back into society and give them a new version of me. So we as men that was out here in the 80s, in the early 90s, we have to take responsibility for the mess that we caused. So we can't look for somebody to come outside of this Dover area, these 4 blocks, and say they know what's needed to bring change into the community, because they can't do that because they don't live inside the community. So they don't know what went on. They don't know what go on. They only know what they're told. So as we, as individuals that, again, live that life, come back into the community, we can see further down the road than what these individuals see today, because we've been there, we've done that. So it's not that we're going to go back to them and say, look, young buck, you don't need to do this because nah, that's not how you do it. You go into the community, you find those individuals and you ask them what causes them to find themselves in the situation they in now, wanting to hustle, wanting to do whatever. And then you try to implement within them to see something different than what they see, because we didn't have individuals in the community to do that for us. So now it's our responsibility for what we lacked back then
to bring it back into the community, to give it back to the children, so that, or those young individuals that's out in the street, so that they can have a better chance other than going into the prison to find out that they can do something greater than what they've done or what they can do. So that's why, again, you know, my brother mentioned 302 community organization that we're a part of. Of course, you know, there are some other organizations. I used to be in Gentlemen, Men of Value. There's some other organizations that's still functioning, that are still working with the youth. And until we have a desire and an understanding that the youth is where we need to be in order to bring about the change that's needed in our community, we're going to continually to see a high rate of incarceration, because that's the plan of the enemy, because prison is on the stock exchange. A lot of your prisons and institutions are private institutions that's owned by certain bankers or certain organizations that want to make sure that the prisons are full. And the only way they're going to be full is they have to have individuals that they don't think that's educated or have enough value within themselves to find themselves running away from the prison instead of running into the prison. So one of the tricks that they're using now is these vaccines. The vaccines, a lot of people don't know that they have mind-altering stimulants in these vaccines that will allow them to control you, and you not even knowing why you being controlled, or why you see people now all of a sudden shootings have gone up ever since the vaccines have been implemented into the communities and being forced upon our people in the community. Look at the gun rate of violence that has gone up. And as you see, a lot of them aren't really trying to kill the individuals that they are shooting, because they shooting them in the leg. So if you pulling a gun on somebody and you shooting them in the leg, are you really thinking with a rational mind? Or are you thinking with an irrational mind? So we have to understand that until we can get a grip on our community, somebody else is always going to have control over our community. Again, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan said, he coined a phrase. He said, the man that give you your education know the diameter of your thinking or the circumference of your activity. So if we continually to allow someone else to come into the community and educate our children, and we not educating them, or we not giving them to think outside of the box or think outside of that school system, then they're going to continually to work within that system, or that, you know, the parameters of what that education or that system that is designed to keep them only to a certain level. Because when they are in schools, they aren't taught how to go into these higher schools of learning to do something for self. They aren't giving them shop education that we used to get when we was in motor shop and all these things that would make us independent of going into college to work for somebody else. So I'm thankful that, you know, my time again in prison gave me an opportunity to come back out and see with a different eye that I seen before I went in. You know, the Honorable Mr. Lord Farrakhan has blessed me to be able to understand my life as a man and my value as a man. So why would I want to go back into the streets and push drugs upon my people when I see the value of my people? As it says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things and I conducted myself as a man. So now that's what you see today. I'm no longer that young brother or that young boy or that young man that was out in the streets hustling, selling drugs, and doing what he was doing. I'm now out in the streets trying to uplift my community and be a successful individual in my community. Thank you.
Yeah, I know we talked earlier about unity within the community, within organizations. I will give a shout out to the community organizations that are doing something, like the Q's. Talk about Tracy Palmer's ministry, NEO, and other organizations. COC is the one that we're part of. We want to give kudos to them. We do have people out here, feet on the ground. We gotta, I can't say that because this won't be out by then, but look on social media, always look on my page. I'm always promoting unity amongst our people, unity events from here, south, north. Even though I live up north, I'm down here beating the ground where I'm from in the communities that I come from.
That's right.
I'm giving back to what I destroyed or helped destroy. Now I'm trying to give back. I also attend community events up north. Like I said, just look at my page. You always see a community. Look at Rico's, look at. And another thing is, I want to give a lot of love and respect to his brother here, my little brother. Not just saying because he's my little brother. You ever on New Street on Saturdays for the last 20 years, you would see this brother on the street talking to the youth, selling his product, showing an example of how we can be and how when you go into the penal system and you can come out and you can make a change. You see that, you see the example. People always say to me, I seen your brother on the corner, I seen your brother on the corner. That's great, because them the same corners that we used to be on destroyed, but this brother been on there for 20 years and trying to rectify what happened back then. So I just want to give him his flowers in case nobody else did. And I keep saying all these individuals getting community awards and events and nobody came this brother. And this is the first brother that I've seen out here putting in this work. But I'm not understanding, but I'm just telling my truth and what I see. And much respect to my brother. We're going to close this out. Yes.
Thank you. Some of what he was saying, I can understand why I don't get the awards and the accolades, because my mindset is not a go along, get along nigga. My mindset is not to get the spotlight or to be seen among individuals of stature. I want to be among those that you don't want to see, those that you don't want to be a part of. Those are the individuals that is going to make the difference in our community. So that's why, as my brother said, they may never give me what they give other individuals, because that's not what I work for. That's not the reason why I do it. I do it because I was a part of that reckoning that was going on in our community. So that's, why they will never or may never give me the accolades they give somebody else, because that's not what I seek. I seek the salvation of our people. Thank you.
All right, so we have Mr. Enrico. And pretty much we want to find out, we're talking about a message to the young Black brothers. So with this, we want to hear about your story. Tell me about when you were incarcerated and what were you incarcerated for?
While I was incarcerated, I went to prison when I was 19. It was for drug activity. They called it aiding and abetting, conspiracy. In my time in prison, it gave me an opportunity to find and define myself. It gave me an opportunity to build on what I had before I went in, but really didn't know what I had. Someone can give you the tools and necessities you need to be successful. But if they're not really there to help you refine and add on to what was given to you, sometimes you can have it, but really not know what you had. So I had something good in one hand, and I had a contradictory life in another. So it caused me to, you could say, self-destruct or find myself incarcerated. And in my time in incarceration, I got my GED. I did some skill set things such as Green Tree and some other programs that allowed me to dig within myself to understand what my problems and issues were as a man, as a person. So that when I came out, I would not allow those same things to confront me and I find myself back inside.
Okay, so while you were incarcerated, tell me, what did you think about the most while you were incarcerated? And how did being incarcerated affect your family? How did that affect your relationship with your children?
Being incarcerated, my oldest son, I didn't know him. My second to the oldest son, I didn't find out or physically see him until I was incarcerated. Someone brought him to see me, and then I realized I had this. So being in prison, it gave me an opportunity to realize what I was missing out on, what I was missing, as well as me not allowing my family to directly suffer with me, because my mother used to try to come see me. I mean, every week she wanted to come. But for me, I felt that was too much because she had her own life. She had a life. She had to take care of my oldest brother who was battling cancer. So my mother had her own issues that she needed to deal with, as well as my issues that I needed to deal with while I was incarcerated. So with that, it gave me an understanding of why it was important for me to be on the outside and not finding myself in a recidivism state of going back into the prison. So it helped me to understand family values and values of myself.
Okay, so once you did your time and you came out of jail, tell me what it was like coming back out of incarceration, getting back into society, things like finding a job. Were people judgmental? Were you stereotyped? Were you labeled? How hard was it for you to find employment? Or what did you do to help yourself once you got out?
Well, before I came out, I was sent to work release in Georgetown. And in that process, they send you to find jobs. And I started working at Purdue Farms in Nova. And with that, I was able to have employment exiting the work release center or prison. So it gave me the upper hand to be able to not find myself falling back into that street life or needing to find myself fighting the desires of going back into that street life. So I think I was pretty much prepared and set when I came on.
So once you were out, did you willingly disclose your criminal background? And then how has having a criminal background had a negative impact on your life?
Well, for me, like I said, when I came out, I had already had employment. So I really didn't have that issue of a criminal background keeping me from being able to obtain employment. Because in the process of me working at Purdue, I was already working myself out of working in a controlled environment. So for me, I was making jewelry, selling oils, doing other things that was allowing me not to have to depend on working a regular 9-to-5 job, selling clothes, doing different things that allowed me to be free from having to even disclose my criminal background because I wasn't on nobody's job. I was freely working for myself.
Okay, so tell me, where are you today and what is different about your life now than it was back then?
Well, of course, I'm a lot older. The things that I did then, I don't do now. So I'm better prepared now for life than I was then. When you was younger, as the scripture said, when I was a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And then I conducted myself as a man. So now I no longer have to find myself trying to please people, places, and things because I control my environment instead of letting my environment control me.
Okay. So tell me, do you have any regrets about anything you've done in the past?
No, because everything that I've done in the past made me who I am today. And that is where the road that the God put me on for me to be who I am, to be able to be an example for someone else that may find themselves walking in the same path that I walked when I was their age, or when they find themselves at the age that I was at that time.
Okay, awesome. So tell me what's your give back? What would you say to the youth about the impact of violence, drugs, gangs, or anything about living the street life? Like, what's your message to the young Black males?
Well, I can't leave the young Black female out when we talking about that, because they're out there together. And most of the time we'll find that the young Black male is out there because he's trying to impress, or he's working to be able to feed that young Black female that he's out there with. They out there together. As a older brother, uncle, friend to some of those young people that will be out there, I would tell them that they would have to find first a love for self and value of self, so that they don't find themselves going down the wrong road and finding themselves incarcerated. So until you can get those young Black men to understand the value of self, a love of self, they're not going to understand why they should come out of the streets, because that's all they know, that's all they've seen. So me going into the street and engaging them, I don't tell them to stop doing what they do, but I try to engage them to see that there's some other avenues that they can use their energy towards that can bring them the same benefit that they have doing what they're doing now. And until we can get them to understand that they can make the same amount of money doing something else other than selling drugs, they're not going to come out, they're not going to listen, they're not going to understand. So we can't go, or I can't go out there with a preset mind of telling them I know what their problem is, I know what their issues is. I have to, or we have to engage them on where they're at, asking them what their issues or what are their problems, and then we address them in that manner.